Okay, I see that we're
Yes,
live
good
now.
to go.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Before we go ahead and start our meeting, I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Tripodi explain the translation options. Mr. Tripodi, can you please let us know what the options are? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tripodi. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:33. Maribel, can you help us with the roll call?
Today is a special board meeting of March 30th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Members of the board in attendance, President Corina Loera,
Present.
Vice President Andres Quintero,
Present.
Clerk Ernesto Bejarano,
I think he's running a little late.
Member Linda Chavez,
Present.
Member Min Pham,
Present.
Members of Administration, Superintendent Dr. Bauer.
Present.
Thank you, Maribel. Now, if you can all join me in doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
I pledge
to the
allegiance to the flag
of the
of
United
the United
States
States of America
to the republic
and to the republic
stands
for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before we move on to agenda item number 2, I just would like to open today's meeting in honor of Cesar Chavez, who tomorrow will be honoring his holiday. Many of us are blessed to have that day off. But regardless, I know that our district as a whole, we used to do a big march. Our children would gather. And I don't know when we'll get back to that, but I do want to honor his day coming up tomorrow. And I want to open up in his honor. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to item 2. Just want to inform the public that members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees on agenda items identified below. And we have
Yeah, I just promoted him.
Put you on mute. Thank you. So when we have the opportunity on each item, we will allow the members of the public. By law, we do need to put that on there, and I do want to read it out loud. Now we're going to move on to closed session. Before we break out to closed session, I would like to open it up for any public comments regarding any items to be discussed in closed session for today. So I think Avtar was going to help us with the public comments.
Actually, it's Carlos. I'm here.
Carlos, welcome.
I made it. Yes.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the screen. Okay, good to have you here. So we're going to go ahead and open it up for public comments regarding any items to be discussed in closed session. Dr. Bauer, can you review the items we'll be discussing in closed session today?
Sure. We're going to be discussing 3 303, Conference with Labor Negotiators, Employee Organization, CSEA. 304, Employee Organization Area. 305, Employee Organization Teamsters, and unrepresented employees in 306.
Great, thank you. At this time, Carlos, do we have anybody wishing to address the board on public comment?
Yes, we do. At this time, we have 5 people. First person is Danielle D'Ambrosio.
Welcome, Danielle. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin. Are they there?
Yes, they are. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go.
Now I can unmute. Hello, my name is Danielle D'Ambrosio, and I am an area member. I've been a Lindale teacher for 20 years, and I would like the board to know that in regards to schools reopening, Dr. Bauer's words were that it was going to be volunteer and that no one would be forced to return. So that has been out there for many, many weeks and months. So yes, I understand that we are now planning on opening. I am one of the teachers who volunteered to come back, who also put my name on the paper. I also wanted to come back to work so bad that I was willing to go to a different school. I was willing to teach a different grade level. I was willing to do all of that just for the sake of being able to come back and get to work with students. Well, now here we are bargaining, and it's in the final hours of when this is all due. And now the teachers that want to come back aren't even going to be given a stipend or any prep time. So in case the board is wondering what the holdup is, it is that, like, once again, the teachers aren't being heard. And again, Dr. Bauer's words have always been, no one will be forced to return. It was going to be volunteer basis only. And the teachers are not even being given a stipend. Thank you for your time. I hope you're listening, and let's move forward with this and let's get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Mr. Moran?
Yes, we have Sherry Duarte.
Welcome, Sherry. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Okay, hello, my name is Sherry Duarte. I am a teacher and a proud member of the area organization. And I'm flabbergasted, just simply flabbergasted that in the 25 years that I've been in the school district, I feel like I'm constantly having to fight for what's right for myself, for my students, or what's just right in general. And it doesn't seem right to ask someone, or excuse me, tell someone that they need to go back to an environment that they don't feel safe in. And as Danielle just said a moment ago, I don't feel safe, or excuse me, she said that she feels safe. She doesn't mind going back. I mind going back. And I was told by my superintendent that I wouldn't have to go back. And I've told this to my principal. She asked me to come in and straighten up my room so it'd be ready. And I said, I don't understand, why would I need to come and straighten up my room if I'm not coming in? I have no plans to come in until it's safe for everyone, that it's universal. And I have students in a pod at my school site. And yesterday, after about an hour, I couldn't figure out why my student hadn't logged back in. And I heard from the leader of that pod that all the students were sent home because of a coronavirus or possible coronavirus exposure. Well, to me, that's it right there. How do we know in a group of 10 people that are supervised, highly supervised, that this event happened, how are we going to prevent it in our large schools with populations, up to 400 students? I know it's only going to be a partial, but anyway, please don't make anyone go back to work before they want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moran?
Next person is Abby Harris.
Welcome, Abby. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you. My name's Abby, and I've been a teacher in Alum Rock now for 11 years. And I do have to say that I've been pretty proud on how this has all been handled so far, up until about a week ago when we got the announcement that there was going to be an opening, and there literally is no plan for the teachers. There's no plan for the parents. We have other school districts surrounding us who have had plans in place. They've given it to their parents and teachers weeks in advance, and the parents know what they're walking into. At this moment, we have students asking us every day, oh, we're starting school on the 12th. And they have no idea what that looks like. And we have no answers to give them. And I just think it's really irresponsible that this was kind of announced with nothing to back it up. It makes us as teachers look like we have no idea what's going on. It makes our principals look like they have no idea what's going on when they don't have answers that they can give to parents and students. So I urge you to negotiate with area, to get a plan in place, to make sure teachers are safe for those that want to go back, to not force the teachers back that don't want to go back and don't feel safe. I just think we owe it to our community to keep up the good job that we had been doing up until this point. And I just feel like right now it's just chaos. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moran?
Next person is Azra Bibi.
Welcome, Ms. Asra. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin. Azra? Are they there? Maybe they stepped away.
Azra, please unmute yourself.
And if they stepped away, we can always come back to them. Yeah, let's go ahead and come back to them.
Okay. Next person is John Fitzhugh.
John, as soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Oh, I'm sorry, I must have made a mistake. I did not mean to raise my hand. Sorry. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. I think Mr. Azra, let's try Mr. or Miss Azra again. See if they're back.
अब ठीक है?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm here. You.
Welcome. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Yes. Huh? Can you speak? Those would like you to.
Would you like to address the board? Asra?
Sorry, say again. Yeah.
Would you like to address the board today?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and start.
And I think वो उसके बारे में
तो बोलो ना क्या आपको टाइम दे रही है बोलो क्या बोलना है
Azra, are you there?
Yes.
Would you like to address the board on public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Moran, if we can move on to the next person.
Next person is Dina Lopez.
Welcome, Dina. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hi, my name's Dina Lopes. I've been teaching in the district for almost 20 years now. I live in Alum Rock and I send my children to McCollum. I have spent many years of my life defending our district and our community. And I have to say that right now, I'm a little bit flabbergasted. I miss my classroom more than words can say. I want my kids to go back to school, but it's the end of March. And to find out that, let's say it's Tuesday, we have Wednesday, Thursday, and then someone thinks it's a good idea for us to be back the day after spring break. I love what I do. I am very passionate about teaching. Don't throw me back in a classroom with no days to prepare for it. I think that that's ridiculous. I think that we need to have a better plan than just throw. I feel like we're being thrown to the wolves right now, and we deserve more than that. Our kids deserve more than that. So please, really, really, really think this through. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moran?
Next person is Jessica Levodi.
Welcome, Jessica. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I am also a Alum Rock teacher at Linda Vista, and I also am completely floored by what's happening. We need to chill out. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. People are still dying, getting sick, having long-term health effects, and it is spreading in schools. And if you look at Europe and Michigan, it's still happening. And we have no safety plan in place at Alum Rock. There has been no planning in place. Teachers have not been a part of this. And if you're going to tell us to come back and force us to come back, it should be voluntary. And that is what Dr. Bauer promised us, that teachers would have a choice in the matter. And now we're hearing we won't. And that is not okay. And we need to have a safety plan in place. And all of our kids and many of us have suffered through this pandemic. And especially with these variants, young kids and young adults are getting sick now, and we need to plan for that. And it should be lives over live lessons in person. And the school year is almost done, and our kids are doing good. I mean, and now they're going to suffer with distance learning if teachers have to be thrown into two different places, in the classroom, but also teaching on screen. And you're going to take away our prep and our small group instruction after lunch and all of that. For what? For what? So really think about this, and think about the lives of the teachers and their families and the students. What is the benefit of this? So thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Brenda Sendejas.
Welcome, Brenda. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for allowing us to comment today. I do want to speak on a couple issues. I do want to thank Trustee Min Pham for having his camera on today. That means a lot to us, the public. And I also want to say that as a parent, I am concerned. I'm concerned of this plan. I haven't seen it. We as parents have no idea what's going on. Our children have no idea how this is going to happen. And I think that this district has had this issue for many years where there is no communication and we get everything last minute. We need to work on that. We need to do better. We have a third wave already that I'm seeing on the news. This is not a joke. The safety of our children, and not only that, our teachers as well, should be our priority. I want to ask you guys to consider whatever you guys plan to do. Be considerate of the staff, the teachers, parents, and students, and give that option to the people that we call heroes, right? The people that stand by us when we need them. So I'm here to stand in solidarity with our teachers, our staff, and as a parent, I want to say thank you to all the teachers. Thank you to everyone for everything that you do for our kids. And I will say that I am very happy with my son's teacher at Linda Vista, who has done a great job. And it just doesn't it makes sense to come in, what, a month and a half or 2 months and the school's gonna end. I think we need to really, really create a plan and make sure that all schools have all these fans and everything that need. I've only seen one school in the video. I wonder if all schools have all these things that are promoted in this video. So thank you. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Brenda. Mr. Moran, anybody else?
Yes, we have Beatriz Prado.
Welcome, Beatriz. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening, Superintendent Bauer and Board of Trustees. My name is Beatriz. I am an area member. I am a teacher currently at Painter. Before that, I was at Adelante, and before that, I was at Chavez for 10 years. I have dedicated nearly 25 years to this district and more than 33 years to education as a whole. We teachers have sacrificed for our students and have devoted many, many, many hours without compensation. We think of our students on weekends, holidays, and summer vacations. They are part of us. They are part of our families always. We would do almost anything for them, which has been demonstrated by teachers here and across the globe thousands of times. But this is a pandemic, not experienced in more than 100 years. We hear talk of a fourth surge. What it means for us remains to be seen. We hear of COVID variants stronger than before. We must ask ourselves, are we safe? Are our children safe? We know what is best for our students and our families. We are devastated too that this year we cannot provide what they need. We too have families and loved ones that are dependent on us to be here tomorrow. I want to be here tomorrow stronger than this past year, and I want to feel safe. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Adrian Vane.
Welcome, Adrian. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hello, my name is Adrian Vane, and I am an 8th grade school teacher at Joseph George Middle School. One thing that I am very open about is the fact that I am immunocompromised. I know several other teachers that are immunocompromised as well. When I went and got the vaccine, because I have had both shots, I was told that the vaccine may not work on those of us that take immunocompromised medicine. And so I am very concerned about coming back to school, especially since I have in one of my classes 29 students. How are we supposed to social distance and be safe, especially if the vaccine possibly cannot work on me and the kids don't have a chance at the vaccine yet? This is not the right time. We don't have enough ventilation in our classrooms. The filters that we've seen provided in our classrooms are not hospital grade. How are we going to come back so it's safe for those of us that it could be a serious health risk coming back? I look at this with fear. I love my kids. I love my job. I don't want to feel like I'm in a position where I have to risk my health for my 141 students. We need a plan to make sure that we, the teachers, are safe and the students are safe. Please keep that into consideration, that it's not just the healthy that are saying that this is not a good idea. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is area member Laura Solis.
Welcome, Laura. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Welcome.
My name is Laura Solis. I am I have been teaching for 20 years at the wonderful school of Cesar Chavez. I usually don't speak, but it makes me very sad to know that my health is at risk. It breaks my heart to know that I have to choose to either go back with the wonderful students that I have, and I'm lucky enough to have someone who is related to Cesar Chavez at my school, and to know that I have to choose to be there while I'm a single parent with my daughter who has given the option to stay virtual. And this earlier, I had heard Trustee Pham speaking to Madam President, and he asked if on the 12th of April, would they start meeting together? And she voiced that she would give people options. And I'm hoping that Madam President and the Board of Trustees, you give that option, that we do not have to go back if we are sick and if we have health issues, and give us more time to prepare our classrooms. We want to be with our students. We love our job. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. So I'm begging, I'm asking, please to consider superintendent, everybody on the board, please, think about if it was your family, if it was your child, if it was your sister, mother, would you want that to come back to you and have them bring something back to you when we are in a pandemic and we still don't have a cure? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mr. Jaeger.
Welcome, Mr. Jaeger.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Bauer and the board. My name is Ryan Jaeger. I've been a teacher here in Alum Rock for 21 years. I teach at Joseph George. I'm also a member of the negotiating team. And I find it crazy that here again, Alum Rock is reacting to something that should have been planned a long time ago or had been in the works rather than the last minute. The fourth quarter is now coming up. There's 45 days left of school. This year's a wash. We need to focus on summer school. That's what we need to be negotiating. And we need to be negotiating for the next opening in the fall for everybody. To worry and rush this now is just putting the cart again before the horse. Think about what we need to do. Think about the right thing. Summer school in the fall, get a plan in place, lay it out, work it out, instead of rushing at the last minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Sean Swees.
Welcome, Mr. Sean. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Okay, my question, I work at Dorset Elementary School. Been there 15 years or so in this district. My question is this: what is the actual data per school that most kids want, like at Dorset? How many kids really want to come back to school? How many classrooms will be full if you're requiring all of us to show up? Okay, the other question is, what are the custodians going to do to sanitize every day between classrooms? Okay, how are they going to do it? Because the system that you have at my school, the little tiny air filters that you bought us, is only covers 432 square feet. Whoever ordered those really didn't do much of a deep dive and see what they cover, right? So we need to know the data of the kids coming back to school. We need to know the air filter systems is going to keep us safe. Also, who's going to take care of the kids during recess time? How are we going to work on feeding these kids? All that little stuff that includes part of school. How many hours are going to come to school? How am I going to teach the kids online versus the kids who aren't going, who are in class? And last but not least, if Mrs. Bowers is so keen on opening our schools so quickly, here's a challenge. Then why don't we have the administration people in the DO start coming to the schools during the week that we open up and spend a week at different schools and really get down to the nitty gritties and see what we're facing. I like Miss Bowers, I really do. I've known her since she was sort of like a mentor. But you know, my health and the teacher's health, they come first. My kids' health, they come also. So please take that in consideration. All the things that take to run a classroom, to run a school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Miss Lowy.
Welcome, Ms. Lowy. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hi, I'm Kathy Lowy. I've been teaching at Shepherd Middle School for 14 years. My mom was actually a teacher in Alum Rock before me, and she was, Dr. Bauer was actually her principal back when I was in high school. And I have a lot of concerns. I've been keeping a close eye on COVID cases in our county, in our district, in our state, in our country, and across the world. And COVID cases are rising in some places very dramatically, especially in Europe and Brazil. Young people are dying. 20, 30-year-olds are dying in Brazil because of the variants there. They are rising in at least 27 states in the United States, and new, more contagious and deadly strains are spreading across the country. And CDC is warning of another wave of cases. When we open our schools and that wave hits us, what's the plan? What's the plan for the kids? Our kids are very important to me. I do not want to go back to school and put my kids, my students at risk and their families. And it's not okay to just open the schools and put their lives at risk. It's not all right. It's wrong, and you know it. So you need to think about what happens when that wave hits us, because it's coming. And everything I see around us shows me that no one's going to prevent it. So what are you going to do? Thank you.
Next speaker is Alma Mendoza.
Welcome, Alma.
Alma, please unmute yourself.
Hello, sorry.
Okay,
Hello,
welcome.
hello, thank you. My name is Alma Gabriela Mendoza. I'm a teacher at Ryan School. I've been there from 1986 on. I'm one of your oldest teachers. I am old and I am overweight and I am diabetic, very high risk, and I am willing to come back. But I'm willing to come back when there is a plan in place. I get it. Our kids need to be in school. I see it every day. I'm online with my kinders from 9 o'clock till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, every single day, trying to help them. But there's no plan. I don't see a plan to keep us safe for all the little specifics that need to be in place. We haven't seen anything. If you have a plan, then show it to us so we know what's going on. Otherwise, you're risking our lives. You're risking my life. If I have to go back, I have to go back. I have a daughter to get through college who also, by the way, went to Ryan, went to Renaissance, nieces, nephews. I teach every day there. It's part of my family. It's my community. But I am not willing to risk my life to go back without a plan, without something solid in place that talks about how are they going to sanitize, how are we going to social distance, what is going to be provided, and how much time do I have to get my room ready. It's a mess in there. I haven't been in there to clean. I've been in there to teach, but that's it. And I want to know, take the teachers back, take the kids back to class, fine. But then you board members need to be ready to go back to the board and meet also in person. Because if you're going to put us at risk, you should be willing to put yourselves at risk. That's the bottom line. We're playing with lives here. Think about it. Get a plan. If you have a plan, show it to us, negotiate it, and we will all willingly go back and eventually, I think. But until you're willing to risk your life, don't risk mine and don't risk my kids. Because I
Thank you, Ms.
guarantee you,
Mendoza. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nancy Flores.
Welcome, Nancy. As soon as you begin speaking, your timer will begin.
Ms. Flores, please unmute there.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you. I'm a teacher. This is my 10th year in the district. I'm happy with the district. I don't have too many complaints other than normal little whines here and there, but I went into my classroom this week. There's not even soap in the soap dispenser. Okay, I'm not even talking about alcohol wipes. I'm talking about soap in the soap dispenser. I'm talking about the foamy sanitizer, that thing that is on the wall has nothing in it. There's no gloves. There's nothing. So how are you trying to invite us back? Burger King has more PPE than our schools right now. I mean, seriously, and you're going to throw people's lives? Just bam, here we go, because of we're getting some kind of bonus. What's it worth? What's it worth? What dollar amount? I've seen families on my Zoom, all of them having COVID, the little girls crying, like it's ridiculous. And I'm not invited back right now. This is not an invitation. I don't feel very comfortable. Oh, like if I would have walked in and things were legit and solid and there's nose protectors and some kind of lamination, throw up a shower curtain. I don't care. But right now, I'm not walking into it. And if I have to go back, we're outside every day. I'm not going into the classroom. There's nothing there. Would you go into a restaurant right now with nothing? Would you go order something through a drive-through with nothing? Would you send your children, your grandparents into somewhere with nothing? So yeah, I'm pretty heated, but that's what it is. That's what you get for nothing.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Anybody else, Mr. Moran?
Yes, next speaker is Mrs. Hasbun.
Welcome, Ms. Hasbun. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Shireen Hasbun. I'm an area member, teacher, and mother of 2 Alum students. My kids love Hubbard and they love their teachers. Both teachers have done an outstanding job, so shout out to Mr. Terrio and Ms. Graciano. I ask you to please keep in mind that there are teachers whose health are at risk. Not all teachers will be fully vaccinated by the April 12th school opening. As of today, we have 2 days left, and it takes time to set up a classroom. When will teachers have time to set them up? Finally, I think it's important to establish clear safety procedures with teachers and families before we open. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more speaker, Stephen Lynch.
Welcome, Stephen. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Last week's presentation that was given to the board telling about all the work that's been done to get ready for the return to school was full of exaggerations and several lies. This plan to get us back to school right now is putting the whole community at risk, not just teachers, but teachers and their families. It's also putting the community at risk. These kids are still carriers of the virus, although they may be asymptomatic. They're going to bring the virus home and give it to grandma, who doesn't have a health care plan, and grandma will die. The plan to have parents complete a survey each day saying that their child has no fever or cough is not near good enough. We need real testing if you're going to have people coming to class. You need weekly testing of students and staff. Children tend to be asymptomatic. Their parents are not going to know if they're carrying the virus or not, and having them complete a survey saying, my kid doesn't have a cough is not good enough. Additionally, they're going to get real tired of completing a survey after about a week, and they're just going to check the boxes saying, yes, send my kid to school. Additionally, what about the long-term health risks to the children? There's not a lot of data on it yet, but are you willing to risk long-term health problems for these kids? The kids that get the virus, even though they are asymptomatic, they didn't even know they had it, but years from now have health problems from this. The district has no good safety protocols in place. The HEPA air filtration units that were bought are way too small. I contacted the company and asked them about it. They said that they are too small. Any return to the classroom involves a change in working conditions, and that must be negotiated. You cannot just say, go back to school, different rules. Don't do this. It's a big mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Yes, we have 4 more speakers. Next speaker is Julie Arroyo.
Welcome, Julie. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening. I am a teacher at Ocala STEAM Academy. I've been teaching there for 12 years now. I'm also a wife of someone who's immunocompromised, and my child has asthma. I worry about what I'm going to be bringing home to my husband and my child when I go back to work, because I don't know what the plan is. I have no idea how we are planning to open. I'd also like to mention that my child will be returning to his school on April 21st. I have seen the principals of his school have shown us the plans of how the desks are going to be set up in the classroom, the entrances, how students will enter and exit the class, the school site. I know the plan for my child, who is going back to school after we open April 12th. We allegedly are opening at April 12th. It's been in place for a while. I know nothing about what we're going to do. We need to have a plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Sandra Rivera.
Welcome, Sandra. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening, Board Superintendent. My name is Sandra Rivera. I'm the Alum Rock Educators Association Vice President and a 4th grade teacher this year at Chavez Elementary School, while I'm also on your negotiating team. I'm reaching out to you tonight to ask for a few things. How many of you have ever had a part-time job where your shift goes from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., but then that one person calls in sick? They ask you to stay from your 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., but they pay me to stay for an additional 3 hours. You are now asking teachers who have been working diligently to create new content, new material, new programs on your Google Classrooms, on your drives, giving students work both on Zoom and asynchronously, to please now go into the classroom and help support students for another 90 minutes, 2 hours in the time that they should be using to work individually with students or to be planning for more asynchronous work. You're taking away their planning time, their grading time, their small group instruction time, and yet we're not being compensated for that. That is unfair, as well as the fact that, as many of board people have said to this board tonight, that if we are being asked to return back, you should also be asked to return back. You can put 6 feet of space in between you and the next board member in the boardroom. So please take these things into consideration. It is not that the teachers don't want to come back. It's not that we don't want to help our students. It's that we are being asked that if the district is receiving millions and millions of dollars to incorporate this, to show the teachers that you worth their life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Claudia Cuello.
Welcome, Claudia. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Cuello, a parent of Alum Rock. And I feel like a good start to begin a sense of security would be to have an example set. And an example for me would be to see all of you guys in the same room holding a board meeting. I mean, if you guys don't feel safe doing this immediately, you guys should really, really think about how we feel as parents and along the staff that is speaking up right now. They don't feel safe, and there's a reason for that. So definitely we would like to see you guys step up in that sense so we can feel more secure. And I do agree with what a person said now. We should be thinking about summer school and our upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Lee Pruitt.
Welcome, Lee. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a school psychologist and a proud area member, and I wanted to share a story from my workday just today. I participated in a Zoom IEP meeting. The student and his entire family were all COVID positive. The parent shared that her younger child and herself were experiencing challenging symptoms. The student for whom the IEP was taking place was also sick with COVID symptoms. He is in 5th grade. We're making assumptions about contagion based on science that is changing due to new variants and the inevitable variants that have not yet been identified. Children are impacted. I had a meeting about one today, and I just want to know how we can ensure that returning to school is safe for our students.
Thank you.
There are no more, one more popped up. Jesse Montano.
Welcome, Jesse. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Ms. Montano, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. Yes, I'm a teacher at Painter School. And I don't think that this is fair for us teachers. I'm also an area and a state council rep. And I don't think this is fair for any of our teachers and our students. I know it is hard for them, but I come from a background where Alum Rock has been very, I have several students of my own, family members. One graduated from Pala when it was Pala, so you know that was a long time ago. The other one was a painter student as well, and now her son is a kindergarten ever at Painter School, which is a very good school. However, they are not, the school is not open. I've gone to visit my classroom periodically, and it is not ready. You are, to have a student when school is so close to almost being finished, to go back to school, to be expected to be ready and ready to be going to school, it is very hard. I have to say that my grandson is wanting to go back to school, but in his mind, it's like he thinks COVID, he thinks of the virus. I think it's not safe. I also believe that you should have a plan in place. Most of the districts that are having this, some of them have already got the plan, some of them have put them to state, to progress. And I don't think it's overall fairness and safeness, which we have to think about our kids. And I have been in a classroom at the end of last year before this all started, when a parent was ill and her student was in my classroom. So I know it's a scary feeling, and I don't think we are ready, and I don't think it's fair. And I just want to let you know that Alum Rock really, really, really has to think about this for overall students. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Moran, was that it?
Yes, no more speakers.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and have a recess and go to closed session. Dr. Bauer, approximately how long do you think we'll need?
I think we would need about an hour and a half.
Okay. So that would put us at about 9 o'clock.
That's fine.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and break out until 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, we'll return back and meet you all again. And trustees, I just want to make sure you all have the link to go into closed session. I think Linda, you were asking for a link. Want to make sure that you got that. And if not, Linda, feel free to give me a call and we'll make sure you get that. I think other than that, we should all have the link and we'll see you in closed session. And we'll see the public back here at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me, Maribel?
Yes, Trustee Chavez.
So am I on the meeting or not?
You are in the open session.
Okay, so there wasn't gonna be any trustee comments, just a public comment?
Trustee Loera said it's, everybody's going to close session.
Yeah, but I'm surprised, I couldn't unmute myself when that screen is on. So I guess I'll talk about it in closed session. Thank you, Maribel.
Oh, you're welcome, Trustee Chavez.
Bye.
Okay, I'm back. Let's see. I see trustee Bejarano, trustee Pham, trustee Quintero, and trustee Chavez. All right. So at this point, there's nothing to report. Reconvening at 9:23. We'll go to item now 5. The board will consider the plan for school reopenings in Alum Rock Union School District. Dr. Bauer. Yeah, Dr. Bauer, I believe.
Yes. I'm trying to see. I'm gonna be asking the board to consider a recommendation. And I'm gonna ask Maribel to share it so that the board and the public can see my recommendation. The district is currently providing distance learning to students under an MOU with the Alum Rock Education Association dated August 10, 2020. The district appreciates areas and all teachers' efforts to transition to distance learning last year at the start of the pandemic. The distance learning MOU states that it will expire on June 30th, 2021, or at such time as the school site opening or in full in-person instruction is permitted by the state or local order. On March 23rd, 2021, the state moved Santa Clara County into the orange tier. For the state's COVID-19 website, the state has announced the county's move into the orange tier, and the state has announced that schools may reopen fully for in-person instruction, and that local school officials will decide whether and when that will occur. As you know, Assembly Bill 86, recently signed into law by the governor, provides significant financial incentives for school districts who offer and provide in-person instruction to the greatest extent possible for the remainder of the regular school year. At a special meeting on March 23rd, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved that. Beginning the week of April 12th, 2021, ARUSD will open up grade levels pre-K through 8th on a phased basis to provide in-person instruction for students who have elected to opt in to return to in-person instruction in district schools. All parents and families in the districts were given the option to opt in so that their child could, if they wish, return to some measure of in-person instruction in district schools. The district received opt-ins from parents for 1,832 students to return to in-person instruction. The district team has been communicating and meeting with area since March 12 to try to reach an MOU so that a sufficient number of teachers to return to provide in-person instruction for those 1,832 students who have elected in-person instruction. Unfortunately, we have not been able to reach a mutually acceptable agreement, and the district will be shutting down for spring break for several days beginning this Friday. Administration believes it is important to notify families and staff of what they should expect when they return after spring break. The administration is committed to continue communicating and working with area and all bargaining units to prepare for the reopening of schools. To best ensure the safe and smooth return to the classroom for students who have opted in for in-person instruction, and based on the state's determination that schools may reopen fully for in-person instruction, the administration is recommending and requesting that the board direct and authorize administration to notify all staff and the opt-in families that the district will be providing in-person instruction 4 days per week in the afternoons at the district's school sites, and to take such actions as are necessary to mobilize staff and resources to provide for the in-person instruction for those opt-in families for the remainder of the school year. and to continue to provide distance learning for those families that did not opt in. This authority would include, if necessary, declaring the current distance learning MOU expire for its terms and notifying area of its expiration. Respectfully presented.
Thank you, Dr. Bauer. For discussion purposes, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for public comment, and then I'll bring it back for board trustees' comments or questions. Carlos, do we have anybody on for public comment on this item?
We have one person, Brenda Sendejas.
Thank you. Welcome back, Brenda. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening, board members. I do have a question with this. Does this mean that if this is approved, the students will be returning for 4 days without an MOU agreement from all bargaining units? Or what does this mean? Because I'm a bit confused, because I know that you guys went into closed session and nothing was given, but what does this do? Does this go above bargaining units and just tell everybody to return? Or I just don't know how this works. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moran?
Yes, we have Adrian Vane.
Welcome, Adrian. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hello, thank you. I spoke before. Once again, I am concerned about my safety. I understand what Dr. Bauer has put forth, but what are the safety plans? Nothing in that thing said anything about the safety of our students, of our staff. I have currently 141 students that I teach daily. And how am I supposed to do distance learning? How am I supposed to teach them if they're coming back with no plan? And I've seen the filters that are being provided in our classrooms. Those are not hospital grade. Those do not take away from, they do not protect us from COVID-19. My classroom doesn't have any ventilation. What are we doing to protect not only us as teachers, but our students? And frankly, we're seeing different variants of COVID that are affecting kids at this point. This is not the right time to do this. You should not be going ahead and not talking to area, talking to your teachers, talking to everybody. We're doing this way too far ahead of schedule. We need to make sure things are safe before we make any rash decisions. And I feel that once again, you guys are making rash decisions without thinking about everybody involved. And it's really upsetting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Moran?
Yes, next speaker is Veronica.
Welcome, Veronica. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Great, thank you, and good afternoon. I have a lot of questions, and I hope what was just read gets a little bit more amplified on and explained a little bit further. I also have a concern on the reopening plan, because I believe last week, there was a meeting with some of the parent leaders, site council, parent teacher council, site council in schools were not invited. It was Spark and other committees, and I heard it through other parents, and I was invited to it. And it was about the reopening plan, and I would have loved to hear that to the whole parents, right? And I only knew about it because other parents told me, but it wasn't because I was in one of those groups. And so I was a little bit disappointed for that. I hope to hear something more, and I hope to be also involved, and not just those parent leaders, but as a whole stakeholders, because it doesn't, by just hearing also the comments of the teachers, it doesn't seem like stakeholders are really being involved in this reopening plan and the impacts that that includes, right? It's this. And it, again, it trickles down to our students, our teachers, our families. Not really much, administration such as Dr. Bauer and the board, but really the most impacted are our students, teachers, and families. So I do hope that there is something as soon as possible where we can see that reopening plan. The video was great. I saw that video that was just published, but it only shows one school, but I would definitely love to see for each school, what does that plan look like? Because my school, it's not Shepherd. My school is San Antonio, and I want to know what that is going to look like for my students if they do return back to school. And even for my teachers, I want to know that to make sure that their safety is a priority as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Abby Harris.
Welcome, Abby. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you. I did speak earlier, and again, I just wanted to address that I think this is chaotic to give us basically 2 more days this week. We're on spring break next week, and then we're expected to show up on Monday. We haven't been able to set up our classrooms. We have no idea what the plan is. Middle school teachers are still teaching in the afternoons. We have block schedules. We're seeing our kids after lunch. We have different periods. And there is nothing in place that's telling us how to do this. There's no plan for our parents that have been sent out. There's no guidelines for the staff members. There's no guidelines for the principals to be able to share with their families and with their staff members. And you're putting everyone into a frenzy with nothing to give us to help us and guide us. This is ridiculous. We're all professionals. I don't understand why you're not giving us more time to prepare for this. I understand we're under, pressure from the state to reopen, and we have families that want to come back, but give us the proper time to plan. Let us set up. At this moment, you're telling us we're teaching in the afternoons, but again, we are still teaching in the afternoon. So what does that look like for us middle school teachers? We're teaching all day to our normal kids on Zoom, and then all of a sudden we're having to provide instruction in the afternoons. It's not making sense to us, and this is why we're frustrated. So again, we're just asking to give us some time to plan and figure this out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Dilsa Gonzalez.
Welcome, Lisa. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dilsa Gonzalez. I am a parent of 2 students in the Alhambra School area, and I am here as a parent and representing my children. I do have questions like Brenda have previously mentioned. There haven't been a reach agreement between unions and between the bargaining deals that you guys are trying to do, what that this means for our children and when you guys are opening. Second, I haven't been invited or I haven't seen any kind of community town hall to let the parents know what is the plan when the reopening is going to happen. We're going on a break. Everybody's going on a break. We're coming back, but yet we're not guaranteed the safety of our children, our staff, and mainly our teachers. I think has been mentioned multiple times that we are in a present time, and I understand parents want their children to go back to some kind of normality. Our kids are suffering from social, emotional, and mental health issues. But reality is that we cannot open schools if we're not ready for it, and if not every single parent knows exactly what to expect when their kids go back to school. Once again, let's do community town halls. Let's invite parents. Let's invite stakeholders. Let's invite teachers, and let's together work with this. I don't think nobody is against reopening, but we are against reopening without knowing to what we're opening our doors to. Thank you and have a really good evening.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Lee Pruitt.
Welcome, Lee. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you. I have a brief comment. I just want to speak as a working parent. Being told tonight that we're going back to work in the afternoon 4 days a week, potentially, gives us less than 2 weeks to arrange childcare for our biological children. If we'd known a date with more advance notice, then we would have had more time to prepare. As it is, we're sort of left in the lurch here.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Erica Grant.
Welcome, Erica. As soon as you begin speaking, your timer will begin.
Hi, I also just have a brief comment. I'm a teacher, and I wanted to note the fact that we have already exposed our other people have spoken more eloquently than I can about the dangers that we're exposing community members to and the family members of our students to if we're opening without a plan that is safe and that we can stick to reliably. But I also want to point to the emotional danger for our students. They have already been exposed to so much uncertainty in the past year. Since we closed down last March, they've had to hear a series of, maybe we'll come back, maybe we will, or maybe we will, maybe we won't. All of the factors that have gone into trying to make some kind of reopening plan and what that might look like have been out of our control for the entirety of this year. We have not been able to control the COVID spread in Santa Clara County. We've not been able to control the CDC guidelines or any of that. This is something that we can control for our students. We can make a solid plan that makes sense, that everybody's aware of, and that can give consistency. Because when I'm in the classroom and my students are asking me questions, I'm not going to be able to answer them based on this. I'm not going to be able to provide that structure. And that's something that feels really patently unfair as an educator. I want to be back with my students. I think that that's important, but I also want to be able to have rules and expectations that are clear for them so they don't have yet another thing they have to be worrying about in the middle of a global pandemic. We owe it to them and we owe it to our families to have a clear, cohesive, comprehensive plan before we start thinking about reopening. And coming back the week after spring break is none of that. It's creating an environment for chaos and uncertainty that's going to harm them more than they already have been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Miss Lowy.
Welcome, Miss Lowy. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hi, I spoke earlier. I'm Kathy Lowy. I teach at Shepherd Middle School. As I said earlier, COVID cases are rising across the country. And if you think that it's not going to reach here, you are wrong. My students tell me on a weekly basis, they're traveling all over the Bay Area, the state, and even out of the state and back, and having parties and all this other things. And I understand the fatigue of being in this pandemic for this long. But when you decide that you're going to also open schools while this is going on, right after a break where families are getting together, non-families are getting together, the weather's warmer, it's a recipe for disaster. We have had hundreds of thousands of people die, and a lot of them in our district. And I don't think it's right for us to just open with a blind plan with no structure while we see cases rising all across the country and the CDC is warning about another wave. This is killing children. And some of our children might be those children who die if we do this. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's okay. Our priority is the safety of our children, not money from the state, but the safety and health of our children and their families. That's number one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mora.
Next speaker is Diana Albert.
Welcome, Diana. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Diana Albert, and I'm a teacher at Hubbard. Media Arts Academy, and I'm actually a second generation teacher and a third generation employee of the Alum Rock Union School District. So I take working in the school district very seriously. This is my community. This is where I live. And I love Hubbard and I love the community. As I said, I went to Linda Vista and Pala. So I have a lot of vested in this community. And I want to say, as a teacher, anybody who knows me and works with me knows that I plan. Everything is planned. I lesson plan. And I feel like with this plan that's been presented, that what we do as teachers is somewhat overlooked. And it may be an unintended consequence, but that's how I'm feeling, because to plan to teach on Zoom all day and then have to go and teach in the afternoon as well is a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And you're talking about students that may not be your students that sit in front of you in the morning. So you have to build a rapport. All those things are very important to students, the communication, the human connection. And those of us are going to do it, we do it right. And to not have the time to prepare for that is very, very disheartening. And I just wanted to make sure that that piece is understood, and that how important it is for the students isn't lost in this. And that if this is something that we're going to go forward with, that plan has to include time for the teachers to be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Sherry Duarte.
Welcome, Sherry. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Thank you so much. This is my second time speaking as well. I am a teacher at Russo McEntee. I've taught in this district for almost 25 years. I too am a product of this school district. I love this district. I love my job. I love what I do. But being forced to do something that you were promised wasn't going to be this way, I just don't understand, Dr. Bauer, how you can tell us that a contract that was not going to expire until June is just going to be no longer valid, expiring sooner. That just doesn't make sense to me. And if we can't hold those kinds of promises, what's it going to be like when we get into the classroom and the promises that we're told and how we're going to be safe? Are they really going to happen? At my school, the custodial staff definitely empties the garbage every day, but we don't get vacuumed every day. It's a once or twice a week thing, depending on your classroom. And how are they going to come in and sanitize every day? It just doesn't make sense. We don't even know how many students we're going to have in our class. Are we going to have PPE for all of them? Are they going to be screened, having their temperature taken? You know, what plans are in place for the safety? We understand that you want to open the school, but you've not told us how you're going to keep us, our students, and our community safe. And I really hope that those are things that are considered before a decision is finalized and many lives are put in jeopardy. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Moran.
Next speaker is Jessica Levoti.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
yes.
I'm floored. I'm panicking because I just feel that you guys are bargaining over money, over our lives, and the trauma this could bring, the mass exodus of teachers it could bring. You're making decisions about our lives and not just our profession here for some money. And we're going to get money in the summer anyway. Why, for a couple $1 million, you're causing such chaos? And like what Sherry just said before, like, where's the sanitation? Where's the cleaning? Where's the planning? And this is our lives and our lives of our students and their families and my family. Like, I have teachers saying, I haven't even gotten my second shot yet. My family's not vaccinated. And the same goes for our community in Alum Rock, the vaccine hesitancy. These families aren't vaccinated yet. These kids aren't vaccinated. And now we know that young kids are the #1 and #2 percentage of of cases right now. I just feel keep everybody home and safe, and we can come up with a really great plan for fall. I just can't believe you are bargaining our lives here and the lives of our students for some money. And it's heartbreaking because I love teaching and I don't want to think about having to leave my job to save my life and the life of my husband and my family, because our district wants some money. It's really heartbreaking to think that. So please save our lives, save the lives of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Next speaker is Stephanie Lopez.
Welcome, Stephanie. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin. Maybe we should go on to the next person. Not sure if she stepped
Yeah.
away, maybe.
Ms. Lopez, please unmute.
I saw maybe we'll come back at the end. Maybe they stepped away.
Okay, next person, and I apologize if I don't say this name correctly, Miss Bisacci, art teacher.
Welcome. As soon as you begin speaking, the timer will begin.
Hi, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm having a literal anxiety response over here. So if my voice is a bit discombobulated, that's why. I'm a teacher at George. There is nothing I care more about in the world than my students and my families. And I've put in so many hours this year, extra hours, to take care of them as best I can through technology training and having Zoom meetings over winter break so they don't feel lonely. And I keep a list on my desk of students who have been personally affected by COVID. And I stopped counting at 20 students who have had deaths of family members because I can't even speak. It's really heartbreaking. And these are students who have been losing family members with these parameters in place, with campuses closed, with masks being widely used. More than 20 of my students. And this weekend, I got comments on Google Classroom about an 11-year-old student I have who's been diagnosed with COVID. We were all really grateful in December when the rest of his family members had it and he didn't. Like, I was so relieved. I started to maybe believe that the science pointing to kids not getting it isn't true. But no, now he has it. And I would like to, I guess, just leave with a comment on what we are supposed to tell our students who've lost loved ones due to this, because I know literally no details of the plan from the district to protect these children and their family. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moran, let's go ahead and try the other person. I'm not sure what the name was. Are they still there?
No, they're not. There are no more speakers.
Okay, thank you so much. So before we go back to the trustees' questions and comments, Dr. Bauer, I know there was a lot of questions and comments about the same things over and over. So if you can, I know we're not allowed to respond or have a conversation with the public directly, but if you can address some of those concerns and thoughts before we open it up for the trustees.
I just want to remind the board that last week we presented the plan that included all the safety measures. And the video that we produced, and that is an example because we cannot make a video of every site of how we're going to handle distance learning, social distancing, the masks, the washing of the hands, all of those kinds of things. We have already placed the necessary sanitizers. They are waiting to be distributed. So all of the schools have enough sanitizer, PPE, masks, all the necessary requirements. We have also purchased sneeze guards to be installed in the different classrooms. The recommendation, as you heard, is for 1,832 students. We are planning to send another letter to the parents to double check if the schedule that we are preparing for them works. So we are within those confines. But in terms of safety measures, we are following all the guidelines. We have filed our safety plan, our CPP, with the county, and everything is ready to go. That plan has been in works for about 12 months already, and all the union presidents were part of the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and open it up for comments and questions from the board. If there are any. I see you waving at Mr. Trustee Bajanano.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start it off. So thank you everyone tonight for, it seems like one thing after another for many years now. Every month is a difficult decision or a very important, impactful life and death decision in many of these cases. And I just want to appreciate everyone, just being on this team, teachers, staff, parents, students, all of us. And I want to thank you, Dr. Bauer, for providing that clarification that you just gave, because, it's important for everyone to know as many facts as possible. I know there are some things that we can't necessarily share just because of the process, but I think a lot of what was shared last week, the plan that was shared and the things that we've, have, as you mentioned, have been discussed over the past 12 months. If people are able to get some of that information, I think that would help. And so that's available, and I'm hoping that people take advantage of that. In terms of safety, that's a few people have said it, if not everybody, that's number one priority is safety. It's not the money, it's not anything, but the safety of the children. That's the priority for sure. And we can all speculate as to what we think is going to happen in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, but as a board member, all I have to go on right now is the guidance of those professionals who know more than me, the CDC, the public health department, maybe some of the people that have been doing the work at County Office of Ed. And so all those things point to, if administered in the way that is outlined in our plan, they speak to the safety and the ability to reopen in the capacity that that's being proposed tonight. So I want to say that is that the guidance that we have from the professionals says that, in spite of what any of us may think this is going, none of us have known from day one where this was going, and we still don't know. And the other thing, I am very empathetic to these feelings that people have, the anxiety, the worry, the concern. I didn't share, I might have mentioned it in passing a few times, but I didn't share this publicly. But in December, I got COVID, and members in my direct household had COVID and were very sick. And, obviously, I have comorbidities to worry about. And so I understand the seriousness. But in our district, we have a lot of, we have foster children that are part of a lot of the work that we do. And my day job is approving the homes of those foster children. And so, that work requires going into homes, working with families, working with children. And I understood the risk that I was exposed to as an essential worker, a social worker at the time. But that was the work that I chose. And the same as everyone, like, we all have decisions that we make, whether it's job related or personal or family. And I was in a position where I had to choose to continue working and serving the families that I've dedicated my career to serving. And, obviously we don't know exactly where COVID is contracted, but, I know that when you work to serve children and families, sometimes, you know, there are risks that come along with that, and everyone's decision is different. I respect and honor that. Mine was what it was, and I got COVID, and luckily everything, you know, turned out, as far as we know, you know, fine. We don't know the long-term stuff and all that, but I just, all that being said, I want to, you know, just say that I am empathetic about the feelings that people have. I've lived it. I've suffered it, and I've, you know, if I had to make the choice again, me personally, I would do it again, because it's important in my role to you know, make sure these foster families are there to provide homes for children. But I also recognize that each individual's decision, family, everything is very individual. So I'm just empathetic about it. So you know, I think there's a lot of information that's available. It's obviously a very difficult decision. I'm empathetic to people's positions, but at the end of the day, a decision will need to be made tonight. And so I'm eager to hear the rest of my colleagues and you know, see where we stand on this.
Thank you, Trustee Matarano. I see Chavez and Pam. Trustee Chavez, go ahead.
So my concern, I guess, overall is the safety of the children and the families and everybody, all the staff, is what's most concerning, that these people are saying that as far as the Spark or the parent committees, only certain ones that were invited. And I believe that we could probably do better in opening it up to the public and lay out that plan for them one more time, and maybe in a public forum, so that they can be more at ease with the plan that's going to be laid out down the road, if they haven't gotten that information already. I know that the district says that you can look it up on the website and everything, but it's for many parents, maybe it's better to have another public meeting and let them know that. I know that it's extra time, but I believe it's extra time well spent to give them a little bit more comfort to the families and the parents who are going to bring their children to school. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chavez. Trustee Pam?
Well, I want to thank the, you know, Dr. Bauer, administration, you know, school principals for their work. You know, I also, you know, a lot of work has been put in, and I do want to ensure that you know, everyone in this district knows that I appreciate, you know, that work. At the same time, I also hear, you know, the concerns out there, and you know, this is a weighty decision. You know, I get, you know, fraught with, for lack of a better term, variables that, you know, you know, that are beyond the scope of my own education, you know, and my life experience, you know, and believe me when I say, you know, and I want to thank my colleagues on the board, you know, we work, you know, up to the last minute in closed session, and, you know, I will want to appreciate them for, you know, supporting me in, you know, doing what we can in order to, you know, try to find an agreement that we can all live with. But though, you know, what is it? But it looks like the situation is as it is. And, you know, I certainly hope that, whatever the outcome of, you know, tonight's meeting, you know, I hope that we can all come together and, you know, hopefully return to the negotiating table and find some agreement, you know. But in the meantime, each of my colleagues will find, will come to their, based upon their understanding of the situation, will come to their own view of it. As for me, COVID is the gushing river that I fear to cross at this time. So, I certainly hope that it's, at some later time, there is room for negotiation, but, I am politics I know something about. Counseling I know something about, but COVID, that's something that beyond my imagination, and I certainly know that it is a serious and ailment that has brought a major measure of devastation in our region. So that on that note, that's not the gushing river that I am ready to cross yet at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pham. Dr. Bauer, I guess if this does pass today, what are the next steps in regards to, I know that, there's been a plan that we've been talking about. You also referred to the dates on there, and if we were to go into different tiers and what the plan was then, and we're following through, what would be the next steps?
I need to inform, we need to collect some more firm information from the parents who signed in. So for those parents who already opted out and they prefer distance learning, they're going to stay in distance learning. But is that 1,832 students whose parents said, yes, we want this? It's a significant number. So we have to go back. We have to offer them the schedule as I presented it to you, and to see how many of them still want to come back. And depending on that number, we will continue to find out how we're going to staff those classrooms. That's why we need the ability, because kids don't come in perfect little packets, right? So we need to, there's a lot of things, and there will be planning time for the teachers who that will be coming. So training for them, that is the reason. Remember, one of the things that we need to be very mindful is the resources attached to this, and that what we lose every day, we don't have students in the classroom. It's about $30,000 a day, which will not be going to some of the kinds of things that we need to make sure that the staff and the kids have what they need. This is very important for us. We are committed to safety. That's number one. I have the MOT team is just waiting to figure out who's coming, where do we put the sneeze guards, how we're going to put the sanitizers, all of that. They're just waiting for us to make a decision. So
I guess
that's the next step, is asking those families for a firm commitment that they're sending their kids now that they have a sense of the schedule.
Okay, which could also change or make it even less. And then communicating with the teachers. Okay, and then the sneeze guards, we have enough for those students to come back. Just waiting to see which classes we're gonna put those in or start putting those in. Okay, before I come up with any other thoughts or questions, Board Vice President Quintero, actually, before we go there, Trustee Bejarano?
Yeah, I just want to also, to the extent that it's possible, I guess, reassure those people that had questions about, specific safety measures or parts of the plan. Part of the reason why we were in closed session for the amount of time that we were is because we really were asking a lot of questions, kind of like what if questions. Well, what if this? What if that? What's the plan if this happens? So we were doing our best in the time that we had to also flesh out that plan and some of the hypotheticals, even beyond what's stated. And so, having done that, and as I mentioned last week, I don't think you should ever let the perfect get in the way of the good, or whatever that saying is. But like I said, to the extent possible, I'm confident in in the robust nature of the plan and the responses that are being proposed by staff. I know there's still things we'll learn along the way as it rolls out and implements if we go that direction. But a lot of the questions that were asked, I just want to let the public know that I'm very confident that that staff is prepared to address those types of situations.
Thank you. Board Vice President Quintero.
Exactly what we signed up for, to make those tough decisions that legally when things change. If we were able to,
Trustee Quintero, your sound is weird. I don't know if you could get closer or speak louder.
Can you hear me?
That's better.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So these are the precise things that people are elected to school boards for. That's what we're here for, to deal with the uncertainty that arises with just everyday life. If that weren't the case, then we would be able to just have automatons that can make a decision A when faced with, situation B and stuff of that sort. And so those decisions that we make, or at least that I make, are based on information that I receive and information that I receive from appropriate sources. It's not, some people say, what do you know about COVID? Well, I lived it. I wound up getting it. And as a result of that, I have irreparable harm to my lungs that really damaged my lungs quite a bit. And so thank God that I didn't go any further than that, but I'm not going to base decisions on my personal experience. I have to, that's part of it, but I have to go off of what the experts say. A short while ago, we were under a lot of pressure by a certain individual here, big name, in San Jose, who decided to come after us for not opening when he wanted to. And what I said is, we're not going to open until the appropriate authorities are telling us that it's appropriate and it's right to open. And at that time, I was glad to push back and not be bullied into opening just because somebody wanted it. However, at this point in time, council can go ahead and attest to this. We've been told that under the orange tier, the state has declared that we can go ahead and reopen our schools. And so based upon the information I'm receiving is what I'm making decisions on. I know that there's a serious amount of concern, and there should be. And that's exactly why before there's any sort of movement, I wanted to make sure that there's appropriate levels of resources and PPEs so that folks can come in and be safe, our children and our staff, students, everyone who enters our schools should be safe. And so, these are very, very difficult decisions, but at some point in time, as we're moving forward, I think we are in an ideal situation where it's a small enough group of students that we can maintain safety and we can go ahead and start moving forward. If, and in fact, the authorities do inform us that we're in a situation where there's an uptick and there is concern, then at that, well before that, we should be taking steps to keep our students and staff safe and take the appropriate measures as we did before. And so, with that being said, I am, it's not an easy decision to come to. It'd be ideal in an ideal world, we would have some sort of way of snapping our fingers and having this go away. Unfortunately, we don't see that coming very soon. And so what we do see is what we're being told by the authorities. And that's precisely what I'm going to be basing my decision off of. I can't go off of other information. And so thank you for the time.
Thank you. And as my colleague mentioned, I've also been very public as far as supporting our teachers, supporting our children, ensuring that we're all safe, ensuring that we don't get pressured into making the decision to open our schools. And, we're here. Most of our teachers, I've heard good reports that the vaccine has been made available for those that, want it. A lot of progress since those conversations back then. Unfortunately, I'm in agreement. We're not in a safe place. Our numbers here in the East Side are still higher than other areas in our community, which is part of the reason why we're one of the last schools to have a date to even reopen or to consider that. And I'm okay with, being one of the last schools to present a date to, reopen. And it's not easy, it's not easy. As my colleagues mentioned, we were in closed session, turning over every leaf, every rock. And that's what we're here to do, right? And make sure that when we make the decisions that we make them, and at the end of the day, go to sleep with a clear conscience and know that we did our best, and that we looked at every detail, ensuring that our children whose parents choose to have them back in school are safe, and that hopefully, that our teachers also feel good and safe enough to be there and teach our children just the way they signed up to be a teacher, when they envision themselves going to college. I want that for everybody. Also, as Mr. Bejarano mentioned, being a probation officer myself right now, and also serving the county at the Emergency Operations Center, I wish I could stay home with my daughter and my, husband, that we also, have specific health issues that we got to consider, but I can't. And it, it's different for everybody, and we all get to make decisions. And as board members, we signed up for this. There's a lot of times that are good and great, and we get to make decisions that are easier, but this is one of those hopefully few decisions that are the hardest. And as it's been mentioned, that if there's any safety concern, know that we'll be the first ones to stand up, and ensure that our children, our teachers, and our staff are safe. And at the end of the day, we get to reopen, right? Whether it's April 12th, who knows, things might change from here to then, or whenever that is. And so that when we do it, though, that we make sure that we have enough PPE, enough hand sanitizers, sneeze guards, space for our children to be in, so that we're doing it in a way that is healthy, and that we're able to keep our children in school and not have to close because they got, COVID or any one of those things. So yeah, it's not the easiest, but we get to, do that. And I know there's 5 of us, and we all have our reasons for why we will vote the way we will vote. But know that, we're here turning every rock and every leaf, ensuring that, we're covering everything, dotting every I and crossing every T. So with that, if nobody else has any questions or
Madam
comments.
President?
Board Vice President Quintero.
Can the general counsel just go over the orange tier? You had to read some language in the past. And so I just want to make sure that we're all aware of what the current status is. Because that's what I'm basing my decision off of. If it's changed, then obviously I don't want to be basing it off of wrong information, but that's what I was informed of the last time, and I'm assuming that it's still the same. So if general counsel can look it up and provide that to us.
The Santa Clara County remains in the orange tier as of now. And the language on the state website announcing the move into the orange tier is that schools may reopen fully for in-person instruction, and local school officials will decide whether and when that will occur.
I know it was low, but were you able to hear that? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. We'll go ahead, Trustee Pham.
Okay, one last question to District General Counsel. In the event that Santa Clara County does regress in tiers, then does that mean that we pivot back to distance learning, or, how does that work?
So that would not necessarily mean that the district has to pivot back to distance learning across the board. I believe what will happen is it will depend on the circumstances as they arise, but the board will be free to consider all of those issues and circumstances if and when that occurs.
And supplemental question would be, if that occurs, does if there is a regression in tiers and, we circumstances change, is this district liable for having to return AB 86 money?
So the AB 86 money, the condition of that is the district has to provide in-person instruction to those students who opt in to the greatest extent possible. So if there is a change in health and safety circumstances that causes the district to have to regress to distance learning at some or all of its schools, then the district's position will be that it still met the standard of offering in-person instruction to the greatest extent possible. It just couldn't under the prevailing circumstances at that time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and go to the voting, and I'll just call your name as I see you on my screen. Start with Trustee Bejarano.
Aye.
Trustee Pham.
No.
Trustee Chavez.
Hold on, sheesh. Troubles again.
Trustee
Wait,
Chavez? We
I'm
can
having
hear you.
Okay. No. Can you see this? No? Oh, can you?
So yes, your response is no. You're voting no.
No.
Correct. No.
Correct.
Thank you. Board Vice President Quintero.
My vote is yes.
And myself, yes. Passes. And with that, we'll go ahead and close our meeting at 10:20 p.m. Thank you. Have a good night.